Hey everybody, welcome back to YAFTV. It is Wednesday, April 15th, and we're going to do a great show today. I'm really happy to have Patty Greer and Chris Burrs here today on the show. They are, of course, the two founders, co-creators of C60 EVO, the wonderful, incredible ESS60 miracle molecule. And I've been telling you all about this show coming up now for a couple of weeks. We're going to be talking about things to do with lingering viral issues, and specifically about Lyme, which of course this year is again, massive hair on fire. Also like alpha-gal, all these tick-borne diseases, and what some call long COVID, but really, what I call the effects of the jabs, and that basically people are being ill for long periods. A lot to do with retroviruses here, a lot to things that are hanging out in the body, and how C60 EVO is in helping heal that. In my words, not theirs. Basically, we're coming to see that so many people using the products are having incredible results when it comes to these issues. And then that reaches into central nervous system disorder stuff, all of it. So while we're in this kind of biowarfare fight, for our lives here, I wanted to get them on to talk about these things, and they have super exciting news. So let's bring everybody in and say hi.
Hello, Free.
Hello. Hey, everyone. Well, it's great to see you. And we'll see how this format works out. And if it doesn't, I can switch it around to the other ones. Just sometimes I like all our lovely faces right up front. So welcome. How are you both? You survived tax day, this where we're forced to give over our cash under threat of bad things from the government.
Why a lot of influencers are yelling today? I wasn't even thinking about tax day, but because I took care of it like a week ago. Yeah. But yeah, a lot of people are really yelling on social media, like the influencers. And that's probably in the back pocket is, oh yeah, I got to do that. And look where it went.
Yeah, it is very frustrating to it feels like, anyway, that's another issue for another show about our feelings around having our money stolen. But Chris, how about you? How are you doing today? You good?
Like I said, when I first got on, another day in paradise. This is another opportunity. I get to be the geeky person that I love to be, and share this amazing science with a whole collection of people. So
yeah, fantastic. Cool. And I'm so excited about the topics today. And I know you have a whole presentation, and you and Patty are going to jump in and explain all your great points. So why don't you start out? I think on this show that so many people know what carbon 60 is at this point, as far as the 60 atom molecule and how it's, that aspect of it. But maybe just give a brief overview of ESS60 as being, and we're all going to do a C60 EVO shot here right now, as ESS60 being, of course, the, extremely purified carbon 60 creation at the only lab that goes to this extent to make it as pure as possible in the world. And so here I always like to start with a shot. I'm usually forget it. I'm a bottle. I drink it out of the bottle. I've got my spoon, but I'll probably spill it.
Cheers,
everyone, to our health.
And the reason we do this at the top of the show is because it boosts the brain power ever so quickly, which you will see. We're going to all start talking a little faster within about 5 minutes.
Fantastic. All right, Chris, why don't you jump in and head us out here?
Yeah, well, what we're talking about is this ESS60 molecule. I do have one slide for this if you wanted to pull that up. It's relevant, or I can just kind of go off of the video. But okay, yeah. So this is the molecule. There's actually a book written about this molecule called The Most Beautiful Molecule. Actually pretty amazing. It's a very unique structure. It's the same shape as a soccer ball. It was discovered in 1985 at Rice University. The three scientists who discovered it, Dr. Smalley, Dr. Kroto, and Dr. Curl, actually ended up winning the Nobel Prize in 1996 for that discovery. Our lab actually started manufacturing it in 1991, a full 5 years before they were awarded the Nobel Prize.
Amazing.
this molecule is amazing. And part of the reason they won the Nobel Prize is because this molecule performs as well or better than the current best material in almost every application. So it makes better inks, better batteries, better tires, better photocells. And this might make people nervous, right? Like inks, batteries, tires, photocells, not what you think of when you're thinking about something that you should consume on a regular basis for your wellness. And actually, the story gets a little worse. First, this shape that you see front and center on this ESS60 molecule is the same shape as benzene. And benzene is ubiquitous in our society and is necessary for modern society. If you have any doubts, just kind of imagine, look around the room, everything that's plastic would be gone without the benzene ring. Many medications have the benzene ring as its foundation, including aspirin. And again, without this molecule, we wouldn't have modern society. Now, benzene, even though it's necessary and ubiquitous, is also known to be toxic when it's on its own. So when you just have benzene, it is known to be toxic and carcinogenic. And because that shape, again, not the chemical formula, but that shape exists 20 times in this ESS60 molecule, they thought the molecule would be toxic. They put it in a toxicity study. And we're going to be talking about that study as we kind of get into these conversations about Lyme disease, vector-borne diseases in general, Lyme disease, long COVID, vaccine, kind of lingering vaccine effects, those types of things.
Awesome. Fantastic. Should I keep this up for now?
Well, we can keep it up.
Let's do.
Yeah.
Okay.
So here we're talking about, right, COVID and long COVID. We're talking about Lyme disease, a vector-borne disease, which has it's a really tricky bacteria in our systems. Maybe leftover residual impacts from the vaccine, and how do we recover from those? And we do believe that the ESS60 molecule can play a role in these. And if somebody were to ask me, like, what role might it play? That's what we're going to be discussing today. Here's the triad of biological hijacking. This is what really happens in these situations. And a lot of it is based on this cytokine storm. You may remember in the middle of COVID that the cytokine storm was the thing that was being attributed to all the actual negative impacts, right? So the virus is in there. In the case of Lyme disease, this bacteria is in there and your body's fighting it, and it's generating this cytokine storm, this reaction to these present viruses and bacteria and fragments of viruses even. And that cytokine storm is the thing that's actually doing damage. I also have a note here, immune evasion. Some of these viruses and bacteria are really good at hiding from our defense system. So our body knows they're there, but we can't go fight them specifically. And that just keeps us in this state of inflammation. So that's that chronic inflammation. Oxidation is also, you can call it cellular rust, right? Anytime you're oxidizing something, you're rusting it. These viruses and bacteria are weaponizing the reactive oxygen species that come off of the mitochondria, which we'll talk about here in a second. And then you end up with this glutathione depletion. Now, glutathione is often called the master antioxidant. It is one of the key antioxidants inside the mitochondria that is helping to manage these reactive oxygen species. And if you're depleting it, because these viruses and bacteria are actually in their processes deplete the glutathione, then you're going to have problems with this reactive oxygen species. Really talking about collateral damage to DNA and membranes. These are all the things that you don't want to have happen. And they cascade into the mitochondria. In the specific case of Lyme disease, it actually grabs and utilizes manganese. Well, our mitochondria needs manganese in order to produce the energy, the ATP. That's the energy source in every cell. And so if your mitochondria doesn't have the manganese, because in this case, Lyme disease is taking it, then you're not making that energy. And these are, when you think about long COVID, what is the main kind of symptom? It's just this brain fog and this lethargy and this lack of energy. Well, if your ATP, if you're a mitochondria that produces the ATP, is the energy source of every cell in your body. If it's not producing that energy, then of course you're going to be tired and your brain's not going to work properly, all these sorts of things. And so these are what we think we can address, and we're going to talk about those. Really what we're doing, you'll see kind of towards the end as we get on the back end of the theory, is we're helping the body manage all of these the way the body normally does. So we're not playing a specific role that just bypasses these. Your body's natural processes just get supported, and that's a really important demarcation. So we talked about.
Well, yeah. Let me just jump in for a second.
Yeah.
So so all these things are attacking the mitochondria, attacking, harming DNA, basically. I mean, they finally, even with the shots and everything, had to admit that. I mean, that's me saying that, not you all. That they had to admit that the DNA is being harmed, also that DNA is being injected, like just major interruption in our mitochondria and our what regulates our DNA. And with the spirochetes and the parasites, parasites, also fall into this category of what you're going to, cover, what you're talking about. Parasites, but spirochetes, right, are that form of vector that is in the ticks, right, the tick-borne. Hugely Fort Detrick, and we're talking, all that situation with the creation of how these ticks become the way they are. But, we're talking about Lyme disease. But when it comes to the spirochetes, we have, like what you were saying, they use the mitochondrial substrate metabolic pathway, right? So, they occupy that. They do exactly, they use exactly what the mitochondria uses, right?
Yep.
And so they're just a giant, a giant parasite. They're colonizing your body and using your most important parts of how you create energy to feed themselves instead, and therefore deplete you, which then leads to all kinds of degenerative diseases, all the central nervous system people get if they have long-term Lyme and COVID, or, the big C words, all of those things that start breaking out everywhere. Is because this whole pathway you're talking about is overrun, and we got to clean it out. Okay, my 2 cents. Patty, you want to throw anything in before we move along with?
Well, I think that it's not a coincidence that ultimately we will know in the next few years. Some of us know yesterday that all these things are man-created by just bad men and women. Very bad people in a lab created Lyme in all of its different features. And all these things that we are mentioning here in this show were created by man. But the best thing is that ultimately we are going to be able to help fix it with nature. Going back to nature is the solution. And that's why we're going through the program, is to remind people it's not accidental. It was planned, but everything's coming to the surface now to be exposed. And can we say healed? I think so. That's what the goal is.
I love this healing goal. Absolutely. And we need it. We need as many options as possible, which is why I'm always hoping that the RFK Junior team is going to see one of these videos and really jump on the C60, the EVO, especially in the ESS60 purity of what carbon 60 can offer for healing these long-term major genocidal problems. We're talking about civilizational wide problems here for the kind of illness it's causing, and that's exactly what MAHA was created to confront and deal with. So, Chris, getting back to you, sorry, excuse me. So, Chris, so how did you want to jump in then to talk about the next aspect of this?
Well, one thing that I do want to point out, right, because of what Patty just said, is this is a naturally occurring molecule. Right? If you collect the soot of a candle, so everybody, whether they've ever purchased our product or not, everybody has been exposed to the ESS60 molecule. And, if you collect the soot from a candle flame, put a cold steel plate over a candle flame, you'll get that deep, dark soot. That deep, dark soot has parts per million or parts per billion of the ESS60 molecule. So this is a naturally occurring molecule. And I mentioned they thought it would be toxic. They put it in a toxicity study instead of being toxic, the test subjects. And here's a map of the study. So there were 3 groups. One was the control group. They were given water. Another group was the olive oil group. They were kind of a semi-control group, obviously given olive oil. And then the kind of more spectacular group was given the ESS60 molecule with olive oil. Now, a typical Wistar rat lives about 32 months. And in this study, that's exactly what happens with this water control group. You'll notice that the olive oil rats lived 38 months on average, about 18% longer. So olive oil is already a very, very good oil. My personal recommendation is you should, whatever olive oil you're taking, you should probably taking more of it. And I love what Dr. Gundry says. He says, the purpose of food is to get more olive oil into your mouth. I love that kind of simplification.
Yeah,
but
that's a goodie.
Even this 18%, this 38 months is nothing compared to the 62 months of these Wistar rats that were given ESS60 in olive oil. So really spectacular results. We can break this down on what do we think this is doing? Why did these rats live so long? And the first place that we landed was on deep sleep. Right. And the reality is, sleep is good for your mental, physical, and emotional well-being. And if we could just attest that this did improve your sleep, then things would be better. Period. End of story. Like, sleep is one of the challenges that you're having in this long COVID, in this Lyme disease, in this, virus or vaccine kind of offshoots, the problems that come from vaccines, is this lack of sleep. So if we can just help sleep, then we can say we're improving your mental, physical, and emotional well-being. Well, in fact, we did an ad hoc study on sleep. So this is what's called a crossover study, and I'll describe it. So we had survey questions: rate your sleep, how easy did you fall asleep, how restless was your sleep? And so for 10 days, we collected data before they tried the product. For 10 days, we collected data while they were on the product, and then back off the product, and then back on the product. This is the aggregate of the data, and it shows that they reported improvements in sleep. More importantly, this was a small cohort, but more importantly, every single person who was in this study reported improvements in sleep when they were on the product, right? So we can put kind of a check mark there. The next place it was my responsibility as the chief scientist to go in and like, well, why did these rats live longer in this particular study? And I looked at the medical community to kind of assess, what do they think aging is? And they tend to think of it as an oxidation and an inflammation process. Now, as an oxidation, to address the oxidation process, there is peer-reviewed published research that shows us to be 125 times more powerful than vitamin C, right? Vitamin C.
Hey, Chris.
Yeah.
I think that 5 minutes Patty was talking about has kicked in. Because
What?
you're going for it now, like you're on full go mode with your speaking. It's really great.
Okay.
Great energy. I'm just saying, you've definitely elevated.
Go.
And I'm noticing, I'm noticing how it affects, because I feel the difference too. Anyway,
one might suggest that any of the inflammation or the oxidative stress or the lack of mitochondrial function has kind of dissipated.
Yeah, exactly.
So the antioxidant, right, check. And then inflammation, we do have to be careful. By the way, wave hands, whatever. If I'm on a track and you're like, Chris, slow down, we got a question.
Okay, yeah, I'll go. Link.
And right. So we have to be really careful when we talk about inflammation, because the FDA equates conversations of inflammation with the diseases of inflammation, which are the diseases of aging. So Alzheimer's, arthritis, cardiovascular disease, cancers. So if we say we address inflammation, the FDA hears me claiming we cure cancer, we cure cardiovascular disease. Obviously, we are not making that claim. There is so much research, and frankly, very expensive research, that we need to go into this in order to start making those claims. We hope to do that research, but we haven't done that yet. The FDA will allow us to say that we address inflammation at least as it relates to exercise-induced inflammation. So we got a little bit of a check mark there. And then this BOSS theory, you can see this protective effect with these reactive oxygen species. Well, this is the slide that kind of breaks down the BOSS theory. And BOSS stands for buffering oxidative stress system. So quick refresher, the mitochondria is the powerhouse of every cell. There's between 50 and 5,000 mitochondria in every cell in our body, except for our blood cells, which have 0, and our brain and neurons, which have 2 million, right? As this BOSS theory proves out, it makes sense that our most consistent testimonial is brain related, right? People take it in the morning, they report mental focus and energy during the day, and then better sleep at night. That's all brain related. So like any power source, the mitochondria has a negative output. You think about your car going down the road, it's got exhaust. You think about a power plant, it's got a smokestack. In the case of mitochondria, it's reactive oxygen species, right? So these are, the way I picture these are like little bumper cars. If they're left to their own devices, they run around your body, and everything they smack into, they cause rust, right? They cause oxidative stress and oxidative damage, and ultimately inflammation. And that sounds horrible, and it is, but like so many biological systems systems in our body, your biology has a way to manage that, and that's with the resident glutathione and melatonin. Remember, we mentioned glutathione earlier. It's also, I think, cool to pause at this point because melatonin is the sleep hormone, right? Our most consistent testimonial involves sleep, so there's really nice parallels. So what does that look like kind of in an everyday mitochondria? Well, you see these reactive oxygen species, they're this beautiful, tranquil color. They've been bonded with either glutathione or melatonin. They're not running around like little bumper cars. Everything is going as it's supposed to. But what happens when you stress a mitochondria? Which of course begs the question, how do you stress a mitochondria? Well, I point out that, well, let's go, we're talking about Lyme disease. We're talking about COVID. We're talking about long COVID. We're talking about kind of vaccine injury, like that's stress mitochondria. And in the case where you have stress mitochondria, your mitochondria start producing more reactive oxygen species than can be managed internally. So you can see there's some of these, nice tranquil reactive oxygen species. They've been bonded with the available glutathione, with the available melatonin. And like, let's point out the available glutathione that hasn't been stolen by these viruses or bacteria, right? So whatever's available does get bonded. But whatever doesn't get bonded is now like this little bumper car running around causing that oxidative stress and oxidative damage. And that's where this ESS60 molecule comes in. So we know from peer-reviewed published research that this ESS60 molecule gets into the mitochondria. We also know from way back in the 90s that it can hold up to 6 negatively charged particles on the exterior of this cage. And so you can see here, these unreacted reactive oxygen species are not running around like little bumper cars. They're just kind of held on like in this bucket of ESS60 until that mitochondria can replenish the glutathione or replenish the melatonin, and then it handles those reactive oxygen species. It takes them from this red reactive oxygen species to this tranquil blue reactive oxygen species. And so fundamentally what we believe we're doing is reducing the negative impact of stress mitochondria. And if we reduce the negative impact of stress mitochondria, we should have a positive impact on everything that we're talking about today. So there's really, really nice parallels. We can go back.
Could I interject here? That
absolutely
is so. In that, what you just described when you were saying, that the glutathione, melatonin getting used up, by these other whether it's vectors or
pathogens,
or pathogens, and so as they're being held, and the glutathione is basically that glutathione and the melatonin is able to rebuild itself quicker and stronger because it's not having to combat those things are being held in place by the ESS60.
Well, I do think you end up in, well, we'll start with the kind of negative picture, right?
So like, the negative, is that, okay, sorry.
Yeah.
I was just curious about, like, are those pathogens, et cetera, they're gaining steam on that oxidative process somehow as well.
Yeah. Well, I think as they steal the glutathione, right, steal the manganese in the case of Lyme disease, and now your ATP is not able to produce energy, your cells aren't able to defend themselves as well. And so you have this kind of negative spiral that goes in, right? There's more reactive oxygen species running around like little bumper cars. They're causing damage. The damage it's causing allows that pathogen to take hold or get a stronger hold. And so this is that negative spiral. And then you throw this ESS60 molecule in, and you can at least remove or pause that damage that's occurring because that pathogen is stealing the glutathione, stealing the manganese, et cetera. Does that answer your question?
It does, absolutely. And it's like, it's such a powerful, I'm just thinking in my own mind because, I've dealt with major tick problems and, know people who have had Lyme and really bad complications with it. But it's that whole thing of like, if you can slow down and manage that process with the ESS60, then these other, what you're doing, these biocompatible treatments, whatever they are, can actually work that much faster and better as well. Because that's one of the most exciting things is just sometimes it takes so long for people to heal when they're not actually able to do this end of it, improve the mitochondrial function in the meantime and capture the oxidative species.
It can give you the breathing room. I'll use my kind of metaphor of I like to picture ourselves like a prairie, right? With beautiful prairie grasses and prairie flowers and stress. Like we need to have stress, right? You should exercise every day. You should be stressing yourself to some degree, and you need that to be healthy. So stress is that gentle rain, right? That supports that beautiful prairie. But when you get something like Lyme or long COVID or whatever it may be, that's like a deep, dark cloud pouring stress into one spot on the prairie. Now that's going to damage the prairie. And, you know, it doesn't play out exactly well here, but it restricts that prairie's ability to defend itself. And that's where I see this ESS60 molecule. I picture it kind of like a sponge between that deep, dark cloud and that prairie, absorbing that stress, right? Giving that prairie some time to heal because it can manage it better when it's healed. It is important to note, like it's a sponge, and if you keep pouring stress into it, eventually it will fill up and pour. So you do have to do the things to manage that stress. But when that deep, dark cloud goes away, you can just squeeze that sponge across the prairie. And now you've reduced, right? You've created a delay between the stress hitting you and the actual impact of that stress. And that's where your body can heal itself. Because this is what we ultimately think is we're just supporting the body's natural ability to heal itself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can I translate?
Please do.
Translating from the images and the pictures and the science words, basically, it's this bottle and a spoon in the morning, and you have more mental focus and you're detoxing your body all day long. Most likely you'll sleep better at night. That's the very simple version of all the mitochondria talk, which a lot of people don't understand, even with these images, that it's the powerhouse of our body, of every cell. And when we detox constantly, we're going to feel better constantly. So it's a really simple formula with a simple bottle that makes all the difference in the world. And Chris and I are partners because this product saved my life. And that's the only reason I'm promoting a supplement. It absolutely works. And my God,
I'm going to bring us here just for a minute. Yeah, absolutely. And we'll get back to the presentation in a moment. But it is a good time. I wanted to have a little intermission anyway to remind everybody, anyone who knows my channel, You Are Free TV, you know that C60 EVO is my fantastic sponsor. And so I want to remind everybody now that down in the description below, you'll be able to find the link, and you have to go to the You Are Free TV link. It is C60 EVO /YAFTV. And then anybody who watches my channel automatically gets a 10% off when you use the link YAFTV. And then for people who donate to my channel, you get 15% off, different link and different different codes sent to you. And so I just wanted to let people know that we're always so appreciative to have C60 EVO because I love the products. And I also am able to give away 2 bottles of my favorite, the capsules. And we also have now back in glass. We're in glass bottles again, which is just like people are loving it. They're so psyched. And I love it too. It just feels so pure and righteous. And you know, how fantastic is that? And that's going the extra mile there. So we love that. And so I just want to let people know, and I'll, at the end of the video, put a ticker up just because I got to, even though it makes Chris upset. But if you go down to the description, there is the code and there is the link. It's c60evo.com /YAFTV, code YAFTV for 10% off. Go down to the link and check it out if you want to, save some money, but also get a great start on the product. So at the end, when we'll go back to the presentation here for a minute, Patty, you can tell people about, the great beginner packages that people often like to start on and all of this, and maybe a few testimonials too, because people need to go read the testimonials. I just want to let you know what we can't say here for all those reasons Chris was explaining. A lot of people say freely in the testimonials. So go check them out and kind of see how this addresses what you might be going through. And so, yeah, let's dig back into the fight of us against the bioweapon manufacturing cabal. All right, I'll bring the presentation back in.
So we talked about this, right? The buffering oxidative stress system, and then let's bring it back, right? So here's the triad of biological hijacking. Chronic inflammation is the thing. It uses unique lipoproteins that agitate your immune system. The bacteria can hide. There is that cytokine storm. This is something that is addressing the reactive oxygen species at the level of mitochondria, and giving that breathing room, then your body can start to manage those properly and have those normal signals so that the cytokine storm is actually doing its job, not just running around causing internal damage. Oxidative stress is pretty obvious, right? Because you're reducing the negative impact of stress mitochondria. The cell membranes are not collapsing. They're not suffering the DNA damage. It is just a great oxidative stress controller. And then, of course, the mitochondria, given the Boss theory, is pretty straightforward. Bottom line, you're just restoring, you're, again, giving your body the break so that it can get back to managing these pathogens naturally. So very important. I will kind of just wrap up with, people ask, what does it look like taking the product? When might I see results? We think of it as a 3-month journey, right? And it has parallels with our consistent testimonial of taking it in the morning, reporting mental focus and energy during the day, and then better sleep that night. So month 1, focus and energy. I'll share, I used to be a 2 to 3 cup of coffee per day person. We've got a testimonial from one lady who took the product, recorded a video at night, and noticed that she didn't finish her cup of coffee, right? So that fits right in there. I'm now like a 1 cup a day. Really, it's about the ritual. Like I come in, I make my cup of coffee, it's delicious, and I drink it, and then I don't necessarily finish it. Month 2, it looks like deeper sleep. I really do think people are getting better sleep in month 1. But everybody gets a little bit more or less sleep every day. So it's hard to track sleep, right? Just to go. And I've had, like, last 3 weeks, I've had 2 conversations with people like, I don't know if I've really noticed anything. And I was like, well, how about dreams? And, their eyes get Bambi wide. They're like, oh yeah, I've been remembering dreams. Like I haven't.
Well, plus you go through that kind of first time you start taking it, it starts doing all that work, so, it's really doing a lot of clearing out those pathways in the beginning. So, as far as consistent long-term benefits, you kind of have to go over that first I don't know,
period.
10 days. Yeah, it depends on the person. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. And really what we think is going on in order to enhance sleep, because it is so consistent of a testimonial, is you go through a bunch of sleep cycles. They're about 90 minutes each every night. And you do like 5 or 6 of these if you're getting the appropriate amount of sleep opportunity. And the way I picture it is each of these cycles has a checklist. Hey, we need to repair the mitochondria. We need to do some muscle repair. We need to store some memories. We need to manage emotions. And if you're already done with your mitochondria, because the ESS60 molecule has helped you manage the negative byproduct of stress mitochondria, then it can move on to the next things, right? So it can get into that REM sleep sooner, right? That rapid eye movement, which is where you're having those dreams and where you're processing those emotions. So we have a lot of kind of, I'll say, emotion related testimonials. So sleep is month 2, and then month 3 is really when you think about reducing the negative impact of stress mitochondria, you should have systemic benefits. You should have what we have, which are head to toe testimonials. And we actually have testimonials that we can't share, right? Like we have to do the research to appease the FDA, but we can't share them. What I will share is kind of this is a representation of these systemic benefits. Is my father-in-law was walking with a cane. At about the 3-month mark, he stopped using the cane, started walking further. Of course, that caused him to lose weight, not because of our product, but because of the walking. These are the kinds of systemic benefits that we kind of see in month 3.
Yeah, well, that's amazing. I'll let people know, my dad, who's now been on it for a couple of years, not long after I started with you all as my sponsor for the show, he's turning 87, next month. And he is, yesterday he was out playing golf, and he's, compared to people 10 years younger than him, he's just amazing and has great energy and everything. And it is amazing to watch. It is amazing to see the comparison of him on this after a couple of years. And he was having stuff going on that to do with central nervous system stuff and just the effects of being older and inflammaging, as they call it. And it's really amazing. People just say, I can't believe your dad's 87, all the time. And he's out there on the golf course as soon as any sunshine comes out. So very cool to see.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
My mom is 97 next month.
Woo, woo.
And she has outlived all of her friends and outperformed all of her friends and neighbors. And she's like the ever ready bunny. She just doesn't forget things, which blows my mind. And whenever I compliment her, she wails, I'm Tara. It's like, you're almost 97, Mom. You're amazing. But, the problem is with the elders that take it is that they are way ahead of all their friends, and their friends just look at them like, I can't keep up. So a lot of her friends have passed, and, that's kind of sad to see. But, man, she is going strong. And I just got an 18-year-old cat that I adopted because my kids went on tour in an RV and the cat wasn't going to make it in the RV. So this poor thing was kind of crippled up because, 18. And she has stretched her wings here. I can't believe how she runs around the house. And it's the EVO. It's definitely the EVO. We give it to pets and people, and it's just making all the difference in the world. But my mom wins. I'm going to have to bring her on some shows one of these days and just let her, show up and go for it, because she'll do it. She'll definitely do it. And her skin is just beautiful. She uses our facial serum. And when she runs low, I get a photo that looks like this. It's the bottle on the side and it's almost empty. So, okay, Mom, I get it. Yeah.
I love it. It's so good. That's the whole point of everything we're talking about in this video, and always about when it comes to C60 EVO. It's all about inflammaging, preventing it, going after it, because that is, what we all are hoping and praying for and trying for by taking things like the C60 EVO, the ESS60, is that, we age healthfully, right? And when we go, but we don't go in, as least amount of pain and disarray and degenerative disease ridden as possible. And those are two fantastic examples right there. And I know of a lot more as well. So yeah, it's so important for people to understand, that what you do now so affects how you're going to feel in the future, and what aging is going to be like, especially in this really dangerous medical terrain in which we live, what we're living through environmentally, and the constant barrage of the assaults on our health in every single way imaginable. So yeah, fantastic. Okay, so Chris, do you have more to add here? Where are we at? I see, it looks like we're at the product screen now.
Yeah.
Do you want to wrap up maybe with a conclusion, or with everything you said here?
Yeah, well, I just think, the boss theory is the key here, right? Reducing the negative impact of stress mitochondria, knowing that you have stressed mitochondria. I often get on different interviews and people are like, well, what about the liver? I was like, well, does it have mitochondria? Yes, it does. What about the heart? Well, does it have mitochondria? Yes. What about the lungs? Do they have mitochondria? Like, what about the skin? Yeah, these are, it is really fantastic what the testimonials that we're getting, and the testimonials support this boss theory. So, it's kind of cool.
Awesome. Okay, cool. Well, yeah, I mean, for anyone who knows, I also want to just throw in there, this is, we're about to jump into in the products and You Are Free TV's page there, but I did want to let people know who are dealing with Lyme. I'm going to put in the description below just a couple things that really helped me. This is Tick Immune, the Tick Immune support by ZenMen, and neither of them have anything to do with this, who are below me here on this show. This is just me. And when I took it with upping this, when I got really sick from tick bites last year, these two things were amazing, because this goes after the spirochetes, and this makes it possible to do it faster. And so what we get is something like I'd never seen with other. I'm just saying, with this ZenMen, Tick Immune was more healing than any other time. I had tried other things for Lyme besides ESS60, which keeps me fighting all of them, all of the viral issues out there. And I also wanted to remind people when we're talking about elders, this is sarsaparilla root tincture. And I just wanted to tell everyone this funny story of this woman who, not funny, amazing, but I think she lived to be like 120 or something. It's just like, definitely, she was over somewhere toward pushing 110, and people had asked her, she was in the study, and they said, what is it that made you live so long? And she's like, well, I drink 3 Dr. Peppers a day. And that was her answer. And we're all like, wow, that's a lot of sugar, right? But basically sarsaparilla is what Dr. Pepper is. And, and now there's so much chemicals and everything they put in everything, but in her day, and growing up, and sarsaparilla is part of what does kill parasites and kill these spirochetes specifically, and all of these other vector-borne things. So it's really interesting when we look at the theory of how much parasites play an effect in attacking our mitochondria and causing these latent but also then aggressive diseases over time. I just wanted to tell you that story about the sarsaparilla. Not saying go drink Dr. Pepper now. It's like 60 grams of sugar per can or something insane. I think it's even higher than Mountain Dew. But
not medical advice.
Not medical advice, but interesting. What old ingredients used to be. Like in soda it was sarsaparilla. Anyway, thank you for bearing with me on those things. I know how important it is. I know how bad the effects are for people going through like the real thick of it. And this summer, and even starting now with this tick season, the seasons seem to be just growing. How often there's tick seasons? They just come pretty much every month now. And I know that people get desperate pretty quick because you can get some pretty intense diseases, symptoms immediately that really disrupt your life. So that's why I wanted to take the time to share those things and really, really reiterate from my own experience what it means to take EVO alongside those things, but also as the baseline fighter to keep the mitochondria healthy and cleaned out, just beyond invaluable. Okay.
Well, you've got the combination of detoxing the mitochondria and 125 times more powerful than vitamin C as an antioxidant. Yeah. So you're kind of beating it up at all angles with the good stuff. That's what we call it, the good stuff.
The good stuff.
And it's 2 ingredients. You can actually read what the ingredients are. It's a naturally occurring molecule that there's not enough of in nature, so we make it in our lab. Not an easy process. And the organic olive oil from a specific farm in Tunisia across the world. So it's not generic anything. It's really high quality, very few ingredients. And we have 3 different flavors of oil, and they're all very carefully sourced. But let's hit your landing page here, which people can dial in using our name, your name, C60 EVO, like evolution.com/YAFTV. And you'll pull up this page, and right on top is the answer when people say, where should I start? What do you recommend? Our number 1 item is the C60 EVO organic olive oil. Comes in 4 ounce, 8 ounce, 16, and 32 ounce bottles, which I'm proud to say, I've got a big one here. It's just in my head.
That thing's amazing.
32 ounce for the big daddy or the big mama that wants to get serious. And you can see that we also have capsules for people that travel, because they will take oil out of your carry-on.
Yeah.
Not your luggage passing through, but if you only do a carry-on, you want to do the capsules. You can put them in your briefcase, your purse, your glove box, whatever. Just keep them out of direct sun. All your oils, edible, and the capsules.
And just throughout the day, to take them keep them in my pocket. That's why I love them, because, you don't want to carry a bottle everywhere and just liquid and everything. But the capsule is just in your pocket, you need that extra boost, or it's time to take your afternoon dose. It's right there.
Right.
If you're on the run. Yeah. Which I am a lot.
Well, it'll give you a buzz if you do it in the afternoon. I don't recommend doing it at night because it gives you a lot of energy. I recommend before noon, but that's just me. Chris can do a cup of coffee and some EVO at night. But the only time we recommend it is if you have extra cocktails and you don't want to wake up feeling like you've been left over somewhere in a pool of something. So that's when you want to take EVO at night. You'll wake up surprisingly feeling better than you thought you were gonna. So the 3 flavors we have right there on the sampler set to the right is the olive oil, which we use for all of the peer-reviewed tests that we've been involved in. The avocado oil, super delicious. We recommend take everything on a spoon so you don't have to lick the plate, but you can put it over a salad or avocado toast and lick the plate because you don't want to lose any of that healthy oil. And then the MCT coconut oil, which I love in my morning coffee. It is literally half as strong as the olive oil, so I take twice as much, just as easy. And so we also have 4-ounce, 8-ounce sampler sets. You can get both, or the teeny little sampler is 2-ounce bottles. And that's just if you want to try the 3 flavors and see which one resonates best with your system.
Fantastic.
And then,
Oh, I said fantastic. Yeah, no, it's I wanted to just mention what you said earlier about the olive oil, just to impress upon everyone, and what Chris had said earlier. You know that Gundry's, an excuse to eat is just so you can have olive oil. The quality of the olive oil, it's so dodgy out there with olive oil, so hard to get good source. This place in Tunisia, we're talking about multi-generational farmers on a single farm of incredible quality olive oil. So it really matters when you have there's genetics that get passed down over decades in olive trees, and when you're getting the same oil from the same source that's high quality from also with the same family, it is really special, and that's part of the whole cost of the process as well, because getting really high quality olive oil these days is extremely hard. And so I'm really proud of that aspect of it. I think it's fantastic.
And it is a sacred food that's been around forever. Olives, olive oil. We are doing specials on 3 packs, 6 packs, and dozen, which is a case. So if you wanted to stock up and get quantities, we are offering it only on our top selling items, which are the olive oil, the sampler set, which is the starter set. We call it the inside and out. It's the bottle of olive oil plus the facial serum that is really fabulous. It comes in this beautiful box, great for gifting, and even better for gifting yourself. But all ages, men and women both, absolutely love the facial serum. And Chris and the guys at the lab made fun of me when I said face serum, body cream. They were like, yeah, I don't think so. And then they all started getting all soft and squishy, and their wives are all going, honey, you always smell so good and you look better than ever. So they show up about a year later with another facial serum and a peptide. And this peptide product is called UTH29, kind of where we all get left off at 29 years old. I'm going to be stuck here for a while. But again, it's a 2-part serum so that we could avoid chemicals and emulsifiers. It's a lovely combo. Or the single simple one that's all natural, organic, mixed with the sampler set. But you can get a deal on 3 or 6 or a case. And I think the cases are down below, is a box of 12. And our shipping is absolutely incredible. I just got products yesterday. I will admit it took me a knife and scissors. Like, we wrap the glass bottles now so intently. I had to fight my way in. I can't even imagine, overseas, but we're not going to have breakage. So, a lot of people, when they get a glass bottle, it takes little work getting into it, but it is worth it because it's just a whole different feel when you pick up a glass bottle of C60 EVO. I've got a 16-ounce. God, it feels so heavy because I'm used to it being light. This is a 16-ounce bottle, and we're selling an awful lot of them lately. So you might want to stock up. That's all I'm going to say with the 3, the 6, or the dozen quantities. And secret code of YAFTV TV, or her other secret code if you want to save a little bit more. You just use her code at checkout, and you'll save a little bit more even than these discounts. But the case quantity is 25% off, and the 6 quantity is, I believe, 20% off, and the 3 quantity is 15% off. So take advantage of the discounts. use freeze code and you're going to get a heck of a deal. But the main thing is you're going to be fighting these enemy agents that have been coming after our bodies through the air, the water, the food. It's an inside job moving forward. You got to take care of your own body yourself. And this is the easiest way to do it. Evo and a spoon. I mean, really serious. I've got all these supplements in bottles, and once a week I'll run my pendulum over all of them and see if anybody, deserves to be in me. There's one of my pendulums. But the oil is every day. The C60 EVO organic olive oil. It's just my morning start. And when we do it at the top of a show, we end the show smiling and full of energy, like, okay, what's next in my day? Rather than feeling worn out. I love doing a shot at the top of the show. And Free, we love working with you because you've got an audience of highly intellectual people that are dealing with all kinds of things coming at our bodies that we know better than to just sit here and be a sucker. We're going to fight back. And on that note, I'm just going to remind you, 32-ounce bottle. If you're a serious wrestler, serious fighter, that's the way to go right there. If you can lift it, you can have it.
Yeah, that thing's a beast. It's so fantastic. Awesome. Awesome. Okay, great. Well, I'm going to bring us out of the products thing and get back to being with each other here. And that way we can just kind of wind down and say thank you. Thank you for Chris, that great presentation, and Patty for everything you do to make these products happen, and for your huge heart and spirit, because it's felt all the time. I'm just so grateful to have this company as the sponsor for the show, because it's like it's kind of like you said about You Are Free TV. Like I'm kind of a go big or go home person. Like I'm kind of like lukewarm, spit it out type person. So that's why I like to go with the champions. I like to go with the champions, and you all definitely are that. So. Just a reminder to everybody else down there, c60evo.com/YAFTV. Use the code YAFTV for 10% off. All of it listed in the description. You might have to take a minute, go down in that description if you're on your phone. And just know that you do need to use that website, the c60evo.com/YAFTV, for my 10 or 15% codes to work. So that's all about that. And anybody else want to say anything before we go?
Your link that we just offered not only is for your secret code, it's also the only place they're going to get the 3 special or the 6 special. You can always buy a case on the website, but we don't offer the 3 or 6 specials except for on your landing page. So awesome. That's a special deal for your listeners. And we love you guys. We want you to be well. And needless to say, Free and I have dealt with enough of the other stuff coming at us. Chris is in the lab a little more protected than we are out here with our big mouths and our freedom. And I've got my ever so special new shirt on.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I actually walked around the neighborhood almost feeling like I needed to, nobody knows what it means except those who know. And when you know, you know. And I figured it might be a way to make friends.
Yeah, there you go. No, it always is. It always the right people. It's a good filter.
That's right.
All right, Chris. Well, it's so good to see you again. It's been a little while.
Yeah, thank you so much.
You're looking fantastic as ever.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to what's coming. I guess we're gonna get some migraine news at some point this year, I would imagine.
Yeah, hopefully.
Okay.
The enrollment has been slow, right? Like, well, the launch is going to be towards the end of this year, hopefully.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be the news. Yeah.
All right, that's research. That's what it takes,
Yeah.
Unless somebody wants to jump in with some millions here to help fund some of the most important research that could be done right now to help people heal en masse from these assaults. So. Anyway, it's all good. One day after the other here, we're staying healthy. We're taking the Evo. Thank you both so much for all you do to make that available to the world. It's incredible because, again, just to close out with, it's the purest out there. That's why it's ESS60, because it has had everything removed from it in the most high tech lab available in this incredible reactor. That is the only thing that's able to purify at that level. So It's quite amazing, really, really special. I hope everyone gets a chance to check it out, and that it really, really helps you with all of your healing, and that we defeat inflammaging together here and get to be with each other for a long time to come. So thank you all so much, and be well, and cheers to y'all. We'll see you next time.
All righty.
All right. To everyone out there, you are free, and I'll see you tomorrow with the news.